Welcome to Planet Diplomats channel for planet-centric business and lifestyle. My name is Satu Hamed. I've changed my name since last time, so wanted to tell you that. And the purpose of this channel is to bring stories of how companies and individuals have made an impact and how you can too. My today's guest is energy man Tuukka Hartikka. He is the Vice President for Hydrogen and Power to X at Helen. For the past 15 years, he has been working in various business development and management roles in the renewable energy and biofuels industries. He's very passionate about creating new solutions that are environmentally, economically, and socially sustainable. He believes that climate change poses great risks, but also offers many opportunities for businesses to create more sustainable solutions. So nice to have you here, Tuukka. Welcome.
Thank you, Satu. Great to be here.
Fantastic. First of all, I think people are so curious to hear, who are you? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Tuukka, and we've known each other for quite some years. And well, as mentioned, I've been working in the energy industry for the roughly 15 to 20 years. I've been working with R&D and also business development, doing some customer experience stuff as well. And I've been mostly driven by curiosity into learning something new all the time. And that still drives me further. So now I'm working with hydrogen and power to X meaning transforming energy into something different, or utilizing carbon dioxide to produce food, for example.
Yes. When I heard that you're working with hydrogen, I was like, of course you are. Of course you are. Because I know that you are the type of innovative person who makes things happen. And you also can get people around you to get excited about these new opportunities.
So I'm trying to do that.
Yes. So we are in an era where we need more and more innovations, right? More than ever before for the green transition. And you are at the front. You are in a fabulous position now to see how this change is being made in the energy sector. That's like super interesting. So could you tell us a little bit about what is energy transition?
Yeah, that's quite a big topic, and it's very interesting in a sense that actually everything changes around the energy industry. So we used to produce energy from fossil fuels mostly, like oil, gas, coal, peat, so on, and now that's all gone. So just to take an example, the Finnish electricity production is 92% carbon neutral, which is amazing. And that just happened I would say, in 2 to 3 years, this big transition. And it's happening globally everywhere. And that's mainly because producing renewable electricity by solar and wind is the cheapest way to do it as well. So we don't need fossils anymore. We can replace them with renewables. But the problem is that electricity doesn't solve all of our problems, so we do need something else than electricity as well. And that's where hydrogen, for example, comes into play.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And we're constantly in this narrative that the climate change and sustainability, it's so hard and we're not going to reach our national and these international goals. But here you are saying that Finland has reached incredible milestones in the past few years,
yeah,
just in a couple of years.
Yeah, and Finland is really in the forefront in many things. For example, when I started at my previous employer, Neste, who was and still is the leader of renewable fuels globally, they also started something new, and it came out of Finland. So Finland really can be this kind of innovation hub where all these big inventions come as well. So.
Wow. But why is it? Why is it? What is like some people are saying that Finland is a great like playground to test all kinds of things. Is it so?
Yeah, probably it has some truth in it as well. We've had good policies as well. So there's been money being put into innovation, and also the regulation has been supporting in innovative things. And as we are a small country, we can test things, and when we showcase that it works here, we can then start to scale it up to other countries. And that's, for example, exactly what Neste did as well. They first started producing biofuels in Finland. They saw that it works. They have the logistics, all the supply chains built in. And then they start to scale, build a new plant in Rotterdam, in Singapore, and now they're a global player.
Wow, this is super interesting. If we go to the hydrogen, could you tell us what does it mean exactly?
Yeah, well, hydrogen has been used for 100 plus years in the industrial sector. So, for example, in chemical sector, producing, for example, ammonia, which is needed for fertilizers and so on, or in the oil refining sector. But it's been produced mostly from natural gas. So it causes emissions while you produce it. So now what we now can do is replace it with renewable electricity. So we take renewable electricity and water. We split the water into hydrogen and oxygen molecule, and then we have hydrogen, which we can then use to replace the emitting fossil hydrogen. That's one of the uses. But then there's many new uses for hydrogen as well. For example, producing food, which I think is a great innovation.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, there's a Finnish startup called Solar Foods. So it's an innovative company that's they're taking hydrogen, CO2 from air, and some kind of nitrate and ammonia to put them in a bioreactor, and out of the bioreactor comes out protein. So it's basically food made out of thin air, as their slogan goes. Wow. And this is, again, one of these Finnish inventions that could really be a breakthrough globally as well.
And this has to do with hydrogen. So when we're talking about hydrogen, we can also talk about food.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not only talking about energy transition, it's actually cross-industry.
Exactly.
So what are these, what can we use it for, hydrogen?
Yeah, so in principle, this is all about sector coupling or combining different sectors. So we use electricity as the main feedstock. Then we produce hydrogen. Hydrogen can be used to produce food or to the chemical sector or power our, for example, heavy-duty trucks. So it has multiple uses. But then the electricity could also be used to just boil water and heat our homes. And that's what we're doing in Helsinki as well. So at Helen, we used to burn coal to produce heat and electricity. But that's now gone. And so we need to replace the coal by clean electricity. Some part will be biomass as well. So then we produce heat for the consumers by also again by carbon neutral ways.
How is this possible? Like you said that it's been existing for 100 plus years. Where did this innovation come from, if we can call it innovation? Why suddenly?
I think it's there's two things that made it possible. One thing is that the electricity price has gone down due to the fact that renewables are cheap, and also because we have renewables. That's the main thing. If we would use coal to produce electricity and then we would make hydrogen, that wouldn't make any sense. So we need the renewable electricity, which is affordable. That's one thing. Second thing is that we need the technology to produce the hydrogen, and that needs to be cost efficient and reliable. And we've reached that level in innovation for these machines called electrolyzers, that they can be cost competitive.
How is it when you started your journey with the hydrogen? Can you tell a little bit about your journey? Like,
yes,
what happened there?
It's kind of funny because I worked for 10 years in the biofuels company Neste, and then I decided that I want to look for something new again. And I thought that electricity has a lot of potential in the future. So I wanted to join an energy company, and I joined Helen as a business designer to look for new business opportunities. I didn't know what to do then, and I was searching around and trying to find my place, and I was working with some customer or consumer solutions, and I realized that, well, I'm not so good at this. And then came out EU hydrogen strategy paper in 2021. It was actually, I think it was June. And I was on summer holiday and I was reading this paper and thought like, this is super interesting. And then came this click that, okay, so my previous job, they used a lot of hydrogen. My new job, they have a lot of electricity which could be used to produce hydrogen. There's quite a good match. And then from there onwards, I started to look into what are the opportunities and discuss with people. It's all about cooperation. So we needed to discuss with all the players in the industry to get the grasp of what could we do with this potential. And now it's becoming big.
So there was a lot of collaboration, you're saying that. So you were basically bringing all the players together to discuss.
And also, exactly, and to understand the different needs of the parties.
Yeah.
So to understand who actually wants the hydrogen, who would be the ones producing the technology, how can we get the hydrogen from production to the users, what kind of regulation is around there, how could the business models be built so that they're sustainable as well, understanding the technology. So basically it was to talk to different experts on the field and to get a bit of a grasp at what this could be, and then trying to put everything, all the pieces together. And now we're in the phase that we made an investment decision on our first hydrogen plant last spring. So now the concrete starts to happen, and it does take some time, especially when you have to build everything from scratch. You're really building something new. So it took about, I would say, 2 to 3 years to get everyone on board and get our management to understand what this is about. But I think it pays off. It definitely, and that's what also drives me to do something new.
And when you're talking about all parties coming together, is this the ecosystem? Are you talking about
Exactly.
like the ecosystem?
Exactly.
What do you need? Who is involved? So that's like part of the planet-centric way of developing businesses as well. So you are considering the whole ecosystem and hearing very different experts.
Exactly.
So it's really critical. What if you skip that?
I think it wouldn't happen because especially with hydrogen, that's a good example of where you need renewable energy producers. You need companies building this new technology. You need companies that are using the hydrogen probably in new use cases. We, for example, when you produce hydrogen, you also produce a lot of heat. And this heat could be integrated into our district heating network. So you need to talk to the district heating people as well. And putting all these pieces together is crucial to get this thing to work. Otherwise, if you miss one of these pieces, it just doesn't fly.
Exactly. So to have, so basically some people have certain skills and you brought them together to be able to create this functioning system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that our management believed in our story, and they gave permission to hire a whole team of experts. So we are now 16 people in the team, and we have such a big variance in the backgrounds of people. So we have people from biofuel industry, we have a lawyer in the team, we have sustainability experts, permitting, also engineers, R&D people, business developers. So it's really, we need all these people together to think and design and then make it happen actually as well.
Exactly. So you need to have, you had a vision and then the plan of execution, but you can't really do that if not everyone's on board.
Exactly.
So sounds like something that other industries could also benefit from, this kind of mindset of like, we see an opportunity, what are we going to do about this? Let's bring people together, and the more you can get organized and create something, conceptualize. How does it actually work?
Yeah. But also working in an ecosystem is not easy because you might have certain conflicts of interest sometimes as well. Like you often need to work with your competitors as well. And how do you actually do it so that you don't break the laws, for example? Because you're not allowed to talk about certain things when you're competitors. But you need to find platforms and ways to do this where you put together also competitors, because that's the only way you can actually generate something significantly new.
That's something I've seen in some industries, coming together, even if you're competitors, but you know that when you have, when the vision and the direction is clear, then it's kind of easier to collaborate. But of course, with sustainability, there is always these, what is it called? Like, it's not always so black and white.
No, for sure not.
So there's a lot of gray area, and just to kind of see that, to be honest about these things as well. So this is innovation, is it?
Yes, definitely. But I think to prove that it's a real innovation, it still takes time that we see the results, because without the results, it's not innovation, it's just an idea or a vision. And that's, I think, is very important, that even though you have a clear vision and you basically know the steps, but you still have to execute them, get everyone on board to do it. Because without, let's say, for example, if we wouldn't have any hydrogen plants, it doesn't exist. We don't get the benefits for the environment or for the business. And so execution is important.
This is a fantastic point with the kind of having a long-term, because this is sustainability projects, they are quite often long-term, and that's very important to have this long-term perspective with these short-term milestones. So I think that's a great way to put it, that the innovation, it is there, but it's not really, you have to see it happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. But for some reason, we have so many ideas that are left in the air. Why is that? Like, what would be? You've seen a lot. You've been like pushing a lot of ideas and also executing them in the past. So, what would be your tip for companies who are like wanting to? They have ideas, they have visions. What are the steps? How do you do that?
Well, sometimes it can be quite complicated, because of course the ideation phase is super fun. It's a lot of fun, and the execution might be less fun sometimes. So you also have to consider the people. So are the same people who are doing the ideation and the vision for everything that are doing the execution as well? And my experience has been that they are probably not the same people. So there needs to be certain handover of things, and that's the part where often things fail. So how to go from the idea to the concrete execution, and how to do that with two teams, and they still should have the same end game in mind.
Wow, that's a very good point. So in fact, it has a lot to do with the roles, because the roles will change on the way.
And of course, here as well, it's not that black and white. There are people who can do both things, but it can be complicated as well, because, for example, when you have a project that you need to deliver, building a factory, for example, it requires special type of people as well. They need to be very persistent, systematic, consistent on things. And they are not necessarily the people who come up with crazy ideas and basically do their work in the early phases, in the fuzzy front end. They don't like the fuzziness of things necessarily. Yes. So you might need the two sets of people, and how to put these in the same table and talking about the same things can be complicated sometimes.
I think you are now at the core of when creating new kinds of businesses, new kinds of innovations. It's the people who are actually executing these things, and when creating something new, it could be that you might also need some new skills. Have you seen this in your team, for example, that actually we need to learn about this new thing?
Yeah, all the time, basically, every day.
Yeah.
So I think what is a good personality is that you have curiosity in you. When you're curious, you start to look into things and try to understand how they work, and that gets you very far. So you learn new things all the time when you're curious. And I think it makes a big difference if the team has a curiosity mindset in it as a team, because then it learns as well.
How do you, because I know that you are like super curious person, energy man.
Yes, and sometimes it's taking a bit too far as well. So.
Yeah. But I believe that everyone has their own talent, right? And you need to be also aware that this is the situation where I can shine, and this is maybe the place where I am not at my best. For example, when you need to do like Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I love Excel.
You love Excel, yeah. Well, as an example.
Yes.
But how do you foster this kind of curiosity mindset in a team?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think anyway, it's about talking to people and getting to know them, because you need to have this safe place in a team anyway. So not killing ideas, that's very important. Letting people to express their opinions, and some people might have personality in them that they tend to be a bit pushy, or that they are afraid to put out questions. So you need really this safety in the team, and making that is just having people together to talk a lot, spending time together, also off work. That's what I believe, that's how you make a team, that they are almost friends together.
Yeah.
Not necessarily fully friends, because that might lead into difficulties, but there needs to be this trust and comfort.
Psychological safety. This is what we talked with one of our episodes with Ida Mäki-Kallio about what's the psychology of sustainability, and she was talking about exactly this. When you as an individual you can sustain yourself, then you can create this space for that you can create psychological safety around you. And these are things that she also said, that sometimes you know what atmosphere there is before you are even there. So it is like this general atmosphere, and even if you're like out of the room, it's still, you know, it is there. So when you are working with sustainability in a huge, very important sector. So I suppose it's like super important that you are also like happy, you are fine with yourself, you can sustain yourself to be able to create these things.
Yeah, for sure. So especially when things get hectic,
you
need to remember to take care of your well-being.
Exactly.
Because I notice it myself as well, that when things get busy, your curiosity starts to go down, and you're less open to new ideas. So then you can recognize it yourself and just take a moment to think that, hey, okay, maybe I should ease down a bit to get back to the good mood, so that all the others in the team are in a better mood as well.
Exactly. So creativity requires like peace. It requires like this kind of, that you're not in this hectic mode.
Stress kills
creativity.
Yes.
Stress kills creativity. That's very well said. And also people are not able to think in a systemic, like systems intelligent way when you are in this stressful atmosphere, and then basically you are in this fight or flight mode.
Exactly.
So you can't really come up with the best solutions. Yeah.
And I think this comes back to the discussion about the ecosystems as well. That how do you create that feeling of trust and easiness in an ecosystem if you're, for example, with your competitors in the same room or so on. So, and I don't have an answer how to do it exactly, but I think maybe a purpose is something that could drive people to the same direction.
Purpose will drive people to the same direction. Yes. What do you think about for example, in this ecosystem that you were talking about, did you meet live or online? Does it matter? What do you think?
I think it should be live,
Yes.
so in person. That makes a big difference. It's very difficult to do it online,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Exactly. So you can get like a deeper connection with individuals, basically,
Yes.
and that's where the magic happens.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and to just see people's expressions
Yes.
and posture and how they react to these topics. It's
Exactly.
very important.
So live, like in-person meetings are actually super important when we're
Yes.
creating like the green transition. It's
Yes.
personal business. You were talking about these green skills and also like what is required to be able to innovate. What are like the future skills? So you said the curiosity is like super important,
Yes.
but there are also some other things.
Yeah, well, in general, innovation, that's very important because things are changing around us very rapidly. We need to keep up with this, and only way is to innovate. And then I think it's really important that you have skills to interact with people and I think it's in any kind of business that's very important. But it comes even more important when you're developing something new. And then you should also have quite a good knowledge of certain industries because especially in Europe is all about regulation and regulating things. And you need to understand this regulation in a certain context to be able to cope with the existing things about the certain business area. And it also gives you a lot of opportunities when you understand the regulation because, for example, biofuels industry or hydrogen industry as well, it's basically driven by regulation. So you need to understand the context where your playing field.
Many people, I feel, are saying that, yeah, I'm a generalist. But are they really? Maybe I'm questioning that maybe we are so much in our own bubbles that we don't actually see what we know. We don't.
Yeah,
Do we know
be.
what we know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. I think there are many generalists, but also I think in Finland especially we have also a lot of very talented engineers who are very keen on understanding everything related to technology. And I think it's also a power that we could utilize.
Absolutely. And Finland has incredible, like I remember when I was working with engineers some years ago, I was like, oh, this is really the promised land of engineers. And here I am, a business design person. But now this year I've realized this is incredible. We are masters of creating infrastructures and creating new systems. It might seem technical, but now this technicality mixed with kind of innovation, like even more innovative, like ways to create world and maybe even more a little bit soft skills.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying, curiosity, innovation mindset, collaboration, the ability to work in ecosystems combined with that. Is it so that Finland will lead the way?
I really would hope
Yeah.
so. And I think one option is also that because we are starting to run out of workforce, we have aging population and we have less employees in Finland, and we would need much more. So this would be our opportunity to get really highly skilled professionals to Finland and get this sort of different perspective of things. And combining this expertise with the Finnish engineers' mindset would probably be a great opportunity. We would understand what people do, for example, India, China, US, and get that perspective into our engineers' mindset. That would probably make
love
a great
this.
combination.
I love that. So basically, that's where what innovation is. You put already kind of existing ideas together, and then you blend it, and then you have a fantastic smoothie and something new that is like, whoa. And yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so this is also has to do with multidisciplinary collaborations that you also mentioned, and also raising the question of like multicultural collaboration as well. That sometimes when we are creating something for the future, we need to be aware of the preferred future as well, right? So we need to have a vision of like that this is the kind of world that we are creating. And now with the hydrogen, it's actually linked with so many different industries. So you probably also have this kind of like image that this is how the world will look like in 5 years when you have the plant up and running. And
Yeah, of course, how I like to work is building scenarios. So kind of thinking that how the world could go and which direction. And typically there is one which is the preferred scenario. And that, of course, I hope is sustainable as well. Then you have the scenario that everything fails, because that's also possible. And then you have the scenario where things go even better than you expected. And it's not the outcome of that work typically that's the main thing, it's the process. So when you're thinking about the futures and the different scenarios, that gives you also things that you start to think about that, okay, so if actually things fail, are we still future-proof with our concepts?
exactly. And what can we do if it fails? Can then this be used for something else or something like this?
Yes.
And I think the scenario work is part of this long-term thinking, isn't it? It's like you are prepared, and it's also decreasing the risks. When you have gone through certain scenarios in your mind, you're not that surprised when things, and happen. There are always surprises.
Yes, and sometimes out of that work comes also some great new ideas, which can then be implemented into your solutions.
If now someone from a totally different industry would want to interview you, and they're like, Tuukka, tell me how should I take things forward in my company? Like, I am ready to innovate. I want to take this industry to the next level. We need it. What would be your top tips for this person?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important to understand who are you selling your story to. If you are going to a private equity guy, you probably need to show numbers, and then you need to understand your numbers really well. But for example, if you're working in a corporation where you're trying to put up ideas, I think it's very important to bring out the synergies to the existing business. That was my key takeaway when I started working with hydrogen. We need to understand what are our current capabilities and what are the synergies between the new with the existing. And then, of course, if you're talking to politicians, you need to raise public awareness and show that this is something very sustainable, for example, or it's very good for the economy. So I think there's many different ways how you can put it, but it depends on the people that you're presenting it to.
So know your audience.
Exactly.
Know who is it for and what's the value. What's the value of this thing that you're trying to... So it has to be very clear. Yeah. What do you want to do, right?
Exactly.
So what is
and I often, what I've noticed is that ideation is easy. Coming up with a great idea is super easy. But then to actually put it into practice and to understand how it fits into the context where it needs to be is very difficult. So great ideas are needed, but there needs to be the execution plan so that it becomes an innovation.
One question with regards to this is that the importance of prototyping, right?
Yes.
Could you, for example, do that in the hydrogen?
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing now as well.
Yeah.
So we are building a pilot plant so that we can test and learn and to understand better when we are making bigger investments. So piloting and demonstrating is necessity.
So not just making like big plans and ideations, but try to kind of test it as fast as possible with
Exactly.
the right people, with
In
the
real
right
life.
audience in real life. Yeah. Of course, in your industry, it's maybe it takes a little bit more money but I think there also you can do these scenarios, right?
Exactly.
Like there are different ways to prototype, so we can be innovative there as well.
Yeah.
So you don't need to build everything to test it.
No.
Yeah.
And there, for example, testing with mock-ups or even with a PowerPoint presentation can be powerful if you have the right audience.
Fantastic. Do you have any last tips for our audience from your personal perspective or business perspective, any perspective that you would like to share at the end here?
I think it's just important to stay very curious. That's how we can move forward.
Exactly. And curiosity, I think it has these nice vibes, right? When you're curious, you're like, it's kind of almost linked with joy, isn't it? When you're like in this, like you're finding clues and kind of taking the next step and then the next step and then the next step, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tuukka, for being here as a guest.
Thank you, Satu.
And I wanted to ask you one last question, and is your favorite song that you would like to share with the audience?
Ooh, this is difficult. I'm a big fan of Finnish rap music, and I think there is part of kind of a learning from all this as well, is that Finnish rap started very small, and now it's become like mainstream. And there has been this growth path as well throughout the years. So all Finnish rap goes.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.